Good morning, everyone. I will just break the cycle and sit with you because I will also moderate the other panel, so I prefer to sit with you now. So, thank you very much for joining us today. And after this very inspiring initial session on reimagining this ecosystem and the changes that we really want to see, we will also shift now to the higher level policy landscape. After the initial welcome words, we had a kind of some initial ideas of what you have been working on, and the idea is that we can really dig in into further details of what is coming next. So basically the Commission launched a new gender equality strategy in March this year. There is this new action plan in Women in Research, Innovation and Startups coming up soon. There are also instruments that are already in place, actions, activities, both at the Commission level, also EIF, EIB, that are really running in parallel and with a lot of synergies as well. So what we want to explore today is really the connection between all of these, what we can expect in the near future, and of course what are the gaps that are still there to address. So thank you very much. Here are really two people at the center of this work. So Lucia and Agnieszka, many thanks for joining us. So now just to start with a spoiler, what is coming next to this new action plan on women in research, innovation and startups. What can be at this stage shared with the audience today? Which are the new instruments, mechanisms or activities that are under development for 26-27 that we can expect? And does this moment represent a genuine step change for gender conscious investment in Europe? For both of you, the question first.
Okay, so I will maybe start with the gender equality strategy. Merete actually made a very good point that now in the world, in many areas of the world, we see many people taking a step back. So I think it's good to see that the EU is continuing to back the gender-focused actions, and I think we can see it in the strategy. When I was thinking about it, actually, on the first side you can see it as a sort of bunch of not related actions that we are proposing. But the more I think about it, the more sort of links I see also what we are doing here. So I just wanted to give you a couple of examples. When you think about health, we know that, for instance, women's health is not addressed enough in terms of, testing, new medicine, access to certain types of treatments. So we all have seen or heard of startups, women-led startups addressing women health technologies that didn't get funded because they pitched before the Committee of 3 Men. So this is very important. So the Commission will address this in terms of access to healthcare, to medicine, but also, for instance, we are now launching a study with the EIB to look at women's health. So we will look at the different technologies, at the financing side, so where are the barriers, what are the sources, what are maybe the funds that address this area, and how we can help women who develop these technologies to get financing. So that's one area. The pay gap, of course. This is another area. We know that the pay gap is now still at 12% per hour, in of course favor of men. So the EU is addressing it through a pay gap directive, where we want to see more transparency in terms of companies, especially the big ones, but also the smaller ones, to arrive to the situation where women would be paid the same for the same work. The third point was, for instance, gender equality on boards of big listed companies. This was a famous piece of legislation that took us 10 years to agree, but finally we agreed it, so now we are implementing it. This is to ensure that women are also represented on boards of the biggest companies. The pension gap. It's currently at 25%. Of course, it's not easy to address because it results from the pay gap, but we are looking at that as well. The financial literacy of women. So this, I think, is super relevant for us as well, in terms of even women knowing how to invest, where to invest, women being sort of aware that where can our pensions go. That we're having also a lot of discussions now how to mobilize pension fund investing into venture growth. So this is also super relevant, and also as the previous panel mentioned, all the social aspects in terms of care, in terms of work-life balance, so encouraging member states to have frameworks that would be favorable to address the issues of childcare, for instance, encourage women to take parental leaves and so on. So these are just a couple of examples that the strategy brings, not to mention all the online aspects, AI, which are also super relevant. So I think it's good to see it globally, and all these actions sort of contribute and can multiply in a way what we are doing here.
On our side, from the research and innovation, as you mentioned, we are working in the action plan for women and research and innovation. This comes from a public consultation. I hope you have all seen it. Beginning of the year, we got 289 responses. That is quite high for this type of public consultations. And it's not shocking what we got. I think it's a confirmation of what we have seen. What we see is like women don't lack ambition. Women want to go and progress, but we are losing them at each transition. When women move from academia to want to be more entrepreneurship, we are losing them. When they are going from more a technical role to a leadership role, we are losing them. So there is a talent leak over the pipeline. And we are trying to position what we are receiving from the response, and I think it's all the same link with competitiveness. It's not, we are not doing this because we are women and we want women to do better. It's because women are an asset to Europe to be competitive. What the answer of this call told us is like there are, for this audience, I think two special items we should focus is access to finance, still not there for women, and not access to the right networks where the decisions are made. We will try to tackle that with the actions that we are putting in place. We are drafting it, and it will come this autumn. And I think this is what we are working currently in research and innovation.
Thank you, Lucia. I'm also curious if you potentially could share a bit more on the how this action plan would look like and the impacts it would have, especially on this regard of not only for the women in this room that are most of them investors, but also in really shifting the capital flow to women-founded founders and companies. So, are there any specific details or how the mechanism is built that you can already share with us?
Unfortunately, I cannot go to the details because this still is in drafting process. We'll need to go on approval and then can be released. So whatever I tell you now may be a lie in 1 month. I understand that there is, but also if you have any ideas, we are drafting. So please reach us. Let us know. Look, we think that you can do this and that. What do you think of this idea? We are still in the drafting process, so we are still able to take much of your input.
The public consultation closed in February, right? Do you have any insights that you could share with us from this public consultation, especially regarding the access to finance, investment?
Basically, what is the main topics is what they are telling us is that we don't have access to finance. Women are lacking versus men to get access to these networks, to those investors. We all know that only 2% of the VC fund goes to women. 98% is held by men. This is what the survey told us is nothing new. It was a reaffirmation of what we already know, and that we need to act. So basically the themes are what is talk on the gender strategy, how we are helping women with, most of the women also have most of the home load. And this prevent them to progress also on their careers, so how we can help them. But this is more cannot be tackled on the action plan for research and innovation because we don't own labor, but this was part of the gender strategy. So I think from policy point of view, we are trying to tackle it in different ways. Women research and innovation is helping women on research and innovation. So how they can progress in their career and their research path, or if they focus on an innovation path, how we can help them to be leaders, startups, unicorns on the way forward.
Now I suggest we can also focus in concrete instruments that are already in place, really focusing on the specific mechanisms, especially EAB, EAF, Agnieszka, some of the initiatives that you could potentially bring information and how it actually is really moving the needle in terms of the results, InvestEU, the Gender Finance Lab, etc. And what is really this pipeline from the Commission perspective to support the whole value chain?
So maybe just to tell you when we started, actually around 2018-19, Astrid is here also with us when we were reflecting about InvestEU and how to tackle this issue. And we came up with these targets with the EIF of 25% for funds. Some people, I will not point fingers, but some people said this will never happen. There are no women-led funds, there are no women, women actually take part. So we were pushing, and at the time, now we see 61% Martinez, but at the time it was groundbreaking for us. Yeah? And also we didn't have a baseline, actually, nothing to compare, because we didn't even have, I think we'll come to this, to the question of data, we didn't have data at that time. So we see that this already has been a great progress. So this is, let's say, the funding side. And when we came up with the idea, we knew that the problem in the ecosystem is that there's not enough women, so we wanted to address that, but we wanted to also ensure that funds, because we know that gender diverse funds, they invest more in women-led companies, so we wanted to see more money flowing to women-led companies. This is still the verdict is not out, let's say, because we are still investing with the EIF in the funds. We don't know how these investments then will translate into the companies. And so I think for us this would be a super interesting funding when we can start actually measuring it. So then we also thought, okay, this is, let's say, the money side, but we want to also address the other side, so the networking, the mentoring. So this is what we are doing currently also with the EIF. So the mentoring scheme is really very good. We have to build the knowledge, the experience of women, and this mentoring is really, I think, one of the best ways to do it. But we also have to, when I think about it, the last year I was very busy on to prepare the European Competitiveness Fund. This is a big fund, 230 billion, that will be in place in 2028. We will finance industry, competitiveness, resilience, there will be grants, there will be equity, there will be loans. So it's a huge pot of money, but the sort of guiding thought there for us is the investment journey. So we really want to make sure that we have funding and support to really help companies through all the different stages of their development, until even big projects, big investment projects. So we also tackle in this, I mean, we now really, this is the idea that we have. We have to look at all the stages and also towards the later stage, the scale-up stage, which we have been addressing maybe a little bit less in Europe. Yeah? So that also guides us in terms of support. So we are also working in terms of creating, supporting banks, commercial banks, to formulate better the gender policies, to collect data. So we work with the EIB on that. We have had 42 commercial banks already in the program, so that's really super interesting. Everyone is super involved. They want to have really methodologies to be able to measure how many women are getting loans. We are looking at also different products targeting women-led businesses. So I think it's really important to look at the whole sort of funding elevator and have also different measures that are directed to the different stages. I'm still thinking what could be done at the scale-up stage, because this is something, you know, that the Commission has now launched the Scale-up Europe Fund with a target of 5 billion euros. Yeah, we are one of the anchor investors. There are other big investors like the Novo Nordisk, we have the Dutch pension funds, Caixa, many, but it will be privately managed funds. There are no targets whatsoever for women there, so we don't know what's going to happen. We will only see afterwards. So I think we also have to think how to get the pipeline, the companies, the bigger funds, yeah, how do we position ourselves in the bigger funds, the funds of funds, yeah, because this is also something very important and will be even more important in the future in Europe. So, sorry, that was a long answer. Thanks.
That is very important to understand, because you kind of can have the whole perspective of the funding journey, but also with different initiatives, but they are connected somehow. Would you like to give us any example of this connection or how this works?
Yeah, I think there's, I mean, there are many examples, I think, with the EU initiatives, and Lucia knows that better. We have, for instance, some projects supporting women-led startups, so like the Women Tech EU, which also helps build, you know, the strong pipeline. There is also a new project, and I think Charlotte is somewhere here, to support women-led scale-ups through boot camps and accelerator. So all this is really connected. Yeah.
I think Agnieszka said this is not new. We have been working some years on it to grow. We have WomenINvestEU scheme that focuses on early stage startups. Has been very successful. We give only 75,000 grants, but they have managed to get 6 times the private funding that we offer them on average. So this it has created also a community, and what we are working now with them is to fast track them to the accelerator, because we see that these are the pipeline that we need in the EIC accelerator to grow as women-led companies and create this pipeline across all the innovation journey. As Agnieszka was saying, don't leave them as I create a company and stay there, but helping them and accompany them and giving the support through